Hello, I'm Ryan Gerber, Hunter Product Specialist here at Hunter Engineering. Today we're going to cover some basic operational procedures with Hunter's new Ultimate ADAS. Hunter's Ultimate ADAS is based off of Hunter's WinAlign system. Many of you are going to be very familiar with the operation. We can still do wheel alignments, but now we've added the capability of adding ADAS target placement all around the vehicle. So let's start with, how do we begin? So the first thing that we need to do is power on our sensors. What we'll do is we'll open the cabinet door on the sensor tower on this side, simply press the button on the power supply for a moment. You will see that it comes on, and you can verify with the green light on the PC that it's on. In just a moment, the sensor tower will pair with the console and the display will come on. Once the sensor tower and console are powered up, the laser gimbals will go through a series of movements to initialize. Give it just a moment before continuing. At this point, you'll see some very familiar screens. Here we'll begin alignment just like we would with any of Hunter's WinAlign software. I'll begin the alignment, and if I were going to do just a standard wheel alignment with no ADAS procedures, I could continue by picking a vehicle. However, for today's procedure, we're going to do ADAS procedures. To initiate an ADAS procedure, we'll need a VIN. I'm going to use the barcode scanner to capture that VIN and move forward. Once the VIN is entered, you'll have a screen here to make sure that we want to do that ADAS procedure. So I will enable that ADAS procedure, and I will continue without an alignment. We could continue with an alignment if that were part of our procedure. At this point, we need to mount our wheel targets. You will notice a new icon here on the bottom. Hunter's Ultimate ADAS program has opened. You will also see the WinAlign icon is present. Ultimate ADAS will automatically switch to the correct program for seamless operation. Should you need to manually toggle between the programs, it's as simple as clicking on the icon. To progress, we will need to add a qualifier here. We need to know if this is a four-wheel drive or a two-wheel drive. I'll choose the appropriate four-wheel drive model for this process. With this screen, we will choose what ADAS calibrations we need to do. We can either check those individually or drop down one row on the menu and select all. Returning to the top menu and confirming those calibrations. Now we're ready to compensate the vehicle. Once the vehicle is compensated, be sure to chock the wheels so the vehicle doesn't move at any time during the procedures. Now that we've returned to the start calibration screen, let's talk about an important thing that we would want to do. Every morning, you will be prompted to do an ADAS gimbal calibration check. Let's go ahead and walk through that so you're familiar with it. Dropping down one row of keys, you'll see a calibration check. Simply click that. Our first step is determining home position. Take note of the camera beam and floor plane on-screen graphics. These will go through a progression from red to yellow to green as wheel targets are acquired and floor plane is calculated. You may see this progression at different times when moving the sensor tower or blocking camera sight. Should this happen, allow the system to reacquire target vision and recalculate the floor plane to green before continuing. Regarding home position, always follow the on-screen instructions and graphics to ensure that you're in the proper location. Ultimate ADAS will go to its calibration check height. It will instruct you to mount the targets that we've already mounted, and we will now do the calibration check. This is where the red lasers will come out and point at the front wheel targets on the top and the bottom and make a measurement. If the cameras and gimbals are in agreement, then you will get a pass on the screen and you can continue on. Let's talk about the accessories that will come with your Ultimate ADAS. Different manufacturers will require different accessories, but let's cover all of the bases. The first thing that everyone will have is this handheld remote. The handheld remote will control the console remotely so you don't have to walk up and engage with it. The next thing that all of you will have will be this barcode scanner. The barcode scanner will record different QR codes from some of these accessories for the printout and so that we know you use the correct target in the correct place. Everyone will also have a target rail and target carriages. On those carriages, we will have the target boards that mount to them. Then on the target boards, we will actually have those forward-facing camera targets or artwork. If you note on the end of each one of these scrolls, you will see a number. That number will correspond to the on-screen graphics. Also, we have this flat plate radar as well as surround view mats. Surround view mats may be rolled together because there may be more than one mat for a procedure. Again, you will see a number that will match an on-screen graphic as well as QR codes that we will use for our barcode scanner for recording of the correct mat in the correct place. Last but not least, let's talk about the remote stand. The remote stand top will actually move so that you can aim that at the direction that the laser is pointing. The next thing you'll see here is the brake. So the brake will allow the remote stand to be placed level to the vehicle. Also, we need to adjust height. There's a trigger here. Pulling that trigger will allow for that height to be adjusted on the remote stand. You'll notice the remote stand has a receptacle on the front, and you may, depending on OE, have different accessories that will attach to this receptacle. Simply clip those in and continue on. Now let's look at the base of the remote stand. The first thing we want to point out is the bullseye. The bullseye is for the red dot laser. This allows for spot-on placement. Next, we'll have a red line. The red line is to line up with the green line laser that will appear on the floor. Next, you will see these 4 pegs. You may have a procedure where the bottom of a target will need to be put between these pegs for stability. Now that we've covered the basic accessories, let's go ahead and move on to a procedure. The next procedure that we're going to cover will be an example of a blind spot monitor procedure. These procedures can be done in any order. I'm just choosing that one because it's at the top. The home position screen will pop up. Always follow the on-screen instructions and graphics to ensure that you're in the proper location. You'll know this because the targets will go green on the wheels. Sensors will go to their maximum height. And at the beginning of every procedure, we will also indicate clear space on the floor with green line lasers and the red pointer indicator. So we know we have the appropriate amount of room to complete the calibration. At this point, for a Honda vehicle, we would need to remove the bumper. Next, we're going to need to mount a target ID for the remote stand. Target IDs can be found on the target, labeled with the number that's on the screen, in this case 322. It also indicates that you would need to scan that QR code so that this can be saved in the memory that you use the correct target. This will also be on the printout. We have our red dot laser back in the left rear of the vehicle, indicating approximately where the remote stand is going to be placed. We're going to measure the floor so that we can properly place the remote stand. I will mount the plate to the remote stand as well. At this point, what we need to do is align the circle on the remote plate with the red dot and the green line laser along the red line on the bottom of the remote stand. That will look like this. So I will place the red dot in the target and the green line along the red line of the remote stand. Next, I need to level the remote stand. That is done by actuating the lever at the top. Actuating it this way allows for movement. Actuating it this way allows for it to be locked. I'm also going to rotate the target at the top of the remote stand to roughly aim at the left gimbal. The reason I do that is because the left gimbal will shoot a laser out, as you can see indicated here on my hand, that I need to align with the dot on the top of the remote stand. So I'll simply unlock the remote stand and move that red laser into the middle of the dot on the remote stand and lock it down. Next, we need to make a fine adjustment on this stand. This is where that red dot will flash and a time of flight measurement will be taken. If it's perfect, it will go ahead and progress. If it were not perfect, you would need to unlock the stand and move up and down on the line until the dot stopped flashing. Now what we need to do is align our plate to the correct height. So what you'll see is there is a trigger on this handle. Once that trigger is engaged, the handle will move up and down. Once you disengage it, it locks the handle. So I'll go ahead and move the handle down and you'll see the red dot appear, and I want to line the red dot between the two red lines. Once I've achieved that, I will release the handle and I can continue on. We'll check to make sure that that is at the correct height. At this point, we would use the laser pointer directly on the radar that is behind the bumper to confirm placement. That finishes this procedure. For the next procedure, let's show an example of a front-facing camera. We'll simply scroll down to the front-facing camera and start that calibration procedure. We'll initiate the scan tool procedure to begin with. Next, we'll go to the home position. Always follow the on-screen instructions and graphics to ensure that you're in the proper location. You'll know this because the targets will go green on the wheels. We've actually got all 4 in this one. I'll continue on. We'll define clear space with our green line lasers and our red dot lasers. Now what we need to do is define where we will place our camera sensor tower during the procedure. So the cameras will move up automatically to define this position. Our red dot lasers are pointing towards the front of the vehicle here behind me. This is where we will be moving the camera sensors to. So let's go ahead and take a measurement back there. Those will flash and then adjust to the floor height. Now I need to simply pull the handles in on the sensor tower, allowing me to move it. At this point, what I will want to do is bring the red lasers into the white capsules and illuminate them on the base. When I get one side in, I will simply release the brake and rotate the opposing side in to illuminate that capsule as well. Once it's illuminated, I've now positioned the camera sensors. Let's go ahead and mount the target boards. Ultimate ADAS will go ahead and move itself down to a easy loading position. I'll mount the target boards. The target boards are indifferent of left and right. So either side you put on first or last will not matter. Once I have the target boards mounted, I will need to mount targets on them. At this point, I will see that I need target number 2 for the left. So target 2 on the left. You'll also notice next to the 2 there is a red X. That will go to a green check mark once I engage the target on the board. Simply rotate the target down onto the board and release the straps on either side, rolling the target down gently. The next target on the right will be target number 4. Again, you'll see the red X, and once the target is mounted correctly, that will turn to a green check mark. Repeat the same as you did on the left on the right, rolling the target down gently. At this point, it's handy to grab your remote, because what you'll need to do at this point will be a lateral adjustment. So I will move the left target board to the left until the bar graph is green. Once that bar graph is green, I'll go to the right target board and move it to the right until that bar graph is green on the right as well. Once we have both bar graphs green on left and right, we'll go to the next step. Ultimate ADAS will orient itself to the correct location. From there, simply use the scan tool to trigger the calibration and finish the job. So for our next example procedure, we're going to do a forward-facing radar with the traditional radar cube. So I'll go down to that forward-facing radar and start that procedure. The home position screen will pop up. Always follow the on-screen instructions and graphics to ensure that you're in the proper location. You'll know this because the targets will go green on the wheels, and we'll continue. Ultimate ADAS will go ahead and set its max height by itself. Once it's achieved max height, we'll go ahead and see what the clear space requirements are. So, clear space will be indicated by the green line lasers and red dot lasers. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to need to mount that target. So I'll grab my remote stand, pull my target out of the drawer. Notice this target says 320, just like on the screen. I will mount the target in the remote stand and scan that QR code so that it can be indicated that we use the correct target on the printout. Now what we need to do is actually move the aligner out of the way, because we will actually, in the Honda procedure, we'll be firing that radar. So I will go ahead and unplug Ultimate ADAS, release the handbrakes, and move it out of the way. Once we've moved the aligner, we'll use the scan tool to initiate the first part of the calibration procedure. Once that's completed, we'll go back to that home position. So again, I will grab those handles and release the brakes, and bring my sensor tower back in front of the vehicle and plug the unit back in. The battery backup will typically last as long as you need it to move out of the way or into a new position. We're in that home position, those two wheel targets are seen. We'll continue on. At this point, my red laser will come out, indicating where I'm going to place the remote fixture. Next, I will measure the floor height. Laser will come out and blink. Measured the floor height. For target placement, I will place the red laser dot on the remote stand and the green line laser along the red line. I will now need to aim the top of the remote stand in the general direction of the gimbal. I will release the stand and place that red dot in the circle on the remote stand and lock it down. Next, we'll take a measurement, and if everything is in good shape, we'll go ahead and go to height. So we like the measurement on the remote stand. Now we simply need to disengage the brake on the remote stand and bring the red dot between the red lines. and release the brake. Now that that's done, we'll go ahead and take one more measurement to confirm the height, and we'll move the sensor tower out of the way. Now that the sensor tower is out of the way, we will move to our scan tool to finish the procedure and complete the job. For this procedure, we're going to do a side view camera single recognition, typically known as Honda LaneWatch. Let's go ahead and get started. The home position screen will pop up. Always follow the on-screen instructions and graphics to ensure that you're in the proper location. You'll know this because the targets will go green on the wheels. Next, the aligner will go to its maximum height. Next, what we need to do is mount the adapter. Mount it firmly in the remote stand. We will also indicate clear space on the floor with green line lasers and the red pointer indicator, so we know we have the appropriate amount of room to complete the calibration. Now we'll need to move to the passenger rear of the car. Here we can see with the red dot laser an indication of where the remote stand is going to finish placement. Next, we'll take a floor measurement and display positioning for the rear remote stand. Again, we'll line that red dot laser up with the circle on the base and bring the green line in line with the red line on the base. Next, what I'm going to do is rotate the target on the top of the remote stand in the general direction of the gimbal laser. Release the remote stand and aim the red laser to the middle of the circle on the remote stand and lock it down. Next is the fine adjustment. The laser will blink, release the lock on the remote stand, and slowly move up and down on the vertical line until the laser stops blinking. At this point, lock the remote stand down and your fine adjustment is complete. You'll see the red dot laser has moved. We'll simply line that red dot between the two red lines on the remote stand. Next, I will mount target 300. This is very similar to mounting the camera targets. The target will simply slide over top of the adapter, releasing the lanyards and gently rolling the target down, ensuring the base ends between the pegs on the base. Next, we'll need to record that QR code so that we know we placed the correct target. Shoot that with my barcode scanner and verify target placement automatically. Once verification of target placement has been made, simply use the onboard system to complete the calibration. For this ultimate ADAS procedure, we're going to show surround view map placement. We're going to focus on the front, but the steps are the same for the left, right, and rear. Let's get started. First, we would need to initialize the procedure with the scan tool. Next, we'll go to the home position. Always follow the on-screen instructions and graphics to ensure that you're in the proper location. You'll know this because the targets will go green on the wheels. We'll set those cameras and boom to the maximum height. And next we'll look at clear space to make sure that we actually have room to complete the calibration. Looks like we have ample clear space for the calibration. Let's move into map placement. For this, we'll be using target 301. Pull that mat out of the drawer, and we'll go ahead and lay it out. For this placement, we'll have the red dot laser shining on the floor. We'll simply align that red laser with the circle on the floor mat. Once we've done one side, we'll move to the other and align the red laser with the parallel lines. For other surround view map procedures, follow the on-screen instructions, aligning the parallel lines with either the red dot or green line laser. This will work for left, right, or rear placements. Double check that the lasers are still in alignment, and grab that barcode scanner to save the correct mat and placement. Now that we've scanned the QR code for correct mat placement and correct mat, we can go ahead and use the scan tool to finish the procedure.